That's recording, but it's not streaming.
So they saw a good game at the
Just reading my description there.
Bruges,
Very on Banksy.
Purdonkey.
Purdonkey.
Sancho scored 2 goals, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, it looked good, that.
So what we're going to do, just an intro, Q&A with Rob to start with. But if anyone has any just questions they want to feel like they want to chirp in with, feel free. We'll have a quick look at his artwork, and we'll kind of just wing that. Last match review and then news.
Sure that as a moment.
Hotel. We'll know.
Is Owen, is this loan business? Any truth in those rumours?
Well, he's saying that, whether
It's true or not.
whether it's true or not.
Who is Owen is?
Has he released
But,
that?
but they had equally,
Conveniently.
I'll put it on this. You know, last time I sat down with him in Rowley's in February last year, he said the same thing then. So
Yeah.
You can't believe a word comes out of his mouth, can you?
No.
So I think the interesting bit is, which I think PST will take the lead on, is what they now do in relate. Do they make representations to the EFL about the owners and directors test and its application to Owen, bearing in mind the fact that he's no longer a director and a person in control. So does he have to reapply? If he does, he's knackered. And you'd like to think the EFL would not give him a route back in, because that'll make him look really stupid.
Of all the songs, God.
I think he needs to do a rock version remix.
It doesn't need encouraging. Then no versions need doing that.
Right, we all ready?
Yeah.
Whether you are.
It's Monday the 15th of April. In today's show, we have Blackpool's very own Banksy, Rob Purdonkey Purdon, with us to discuss his brilliant NAPM artwork collection. We also review Saturday's defeat to Peterborough and the previous week's commendable draw at table topping Luton Town. I'm John Aspinall, and this is the Seasiders podcast, episode 130. Purdonkey, Posh and Hatters.
Ollie's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, all you Seasiders fans out there. Welcome back to the Seasiders podcast, episode 130. Joining us today, we've got a very, very special guest. Is Mr. Rob Purdon, a.k.a. What's your name?
Jesus, Purdonkey, you picked me up there a bit too much, haven't you? Hey, star of the show.
Yeah.
Online sensation.
That's from the Gazette, wasn't
That's
it?
the one.
Right, anyway, Rob, it's great to have you on, really is. Appreciate you coming. Stood opposite now, aren't we? We stood up is Nick Smith, as ever. Nearly got you wrong, though. I nearly got your name wrong, Nick.
Good evening, John.
Yes, good evening.
Rob. Good evening, Tim.
Good evening, Nick.
And that was Mr. Tim Fielding, honorary, what's your title again?
Oh, no.
Honorary BST, non-executive.
Changes every week.
Yeah. Right, so yeah, episode 130. We've got Robin to do a Q&A just to kick things off. Anyone want to just have a bit of bants to start with?
Yeah.
Tim, you've been playing oldies football again, haven't you? And,
I know, that's why I look a bit flushed in the face. I'm straight for my resounding win.
6-2, I believe.
6-3, but
6-3.
They had the under-70s goalkeeper in goals.
Is that how you got a brace?
To be fair, he's a superb keeper. I think would have been a bit more convincing if it hadn't been for his heroics in goals. So
I think we should have that as the match review rather than Peterborough.
Yeah, definitely.
He sounds a lot more
do
interesting.
you want me to talk you through my goals?
I do, yeah.
Fill a bit of time, won't
Well,
it?
that'll be over in about 2 seconds, Nick, the match review of that.
Yeah.
You can only the word boring only takes like a nanosecond to come out, yeah. So Right, on with the show then. Let's kick off with interview with Rob. So, Rob, just firstly, do you want to talk about your exhibition this weekend?
Yeah, exhibition.
I'm sure everybody knows who he is anyway, but for anyone
hopefully, do me a favour.
for anyone who's been living under a rock or doesn't on the internet, Rob's obviously the purveyor of this fine Not a Penny More campaign artworks flooded over Twitter, hasn't it? And
yeah, it certainly has. Yeah, it's all over the place, really, to be honest with you. So, thankfully, been shared by a lot of people over a good few years. So it's done me a few favours. Let's put it that way.
Okay. So let's kick off. Just got a few questions for you. So, how long have you been an artist, and how did you learn?
Self-taught. No kind of college education for it or anything like that, really. Just kind of practicing. I've been drawing since I was a kid. My mum used to throw me outside because I was drawing so much. She got fed up with me. Said go out, and found a rusty old nail and used to draw on slates that had fallen off the roof. So basically just been drawing forever. Really,
it's like something out of a Dickensian novel.
A little bit. No, it was that way, to be honest with you. Yeah,
we'll draw for food.
The childhood was bad. So yeah, it was. You had to just draw in all the time, really, to be honest with you.
Right, excellent. So obviously you're a Blackpool fan. How long have you been supporting the pool for, and what made you start supporting Blackpool? I think you're of a similar age. I think
a glutton for punishment, really. I think, to be honest with you, that's it. I'm just like being in the mire. No, my mum basically she likes getting married. So one of her husbands, he's all right. She doesn't talk to me. I can say this. One of her husbands basically was a pool fan. In 1986, we moved over to Blackpool from Thornton, and he started taking us to games. So in 1986, I first went. Can't quite remember who it was we played, but I can remember the atmosphere. I can remember seeing lads I knew from school kind of climbing on top of things and doing what they shouldn't do, and that was me.
Who was manager then? Because
it
must have been Ellis. Sam Ellis, isn't it? Yeah, Sam Ellis.
Yeah. So yeah, good few years. 1986, I first went, and then that marriage didn't last long, really, to be honest with you. So you just kind of follow. Sam Ellis and my mother's. So it's you kind of go away from it, and then you come back to it. And I had kids myself, and my sister used to buy the lads Man United kits, and I was having none of that, basically. So you've got to support your local team. They were born in Blackpool, so even though I wasn't myself, they were born in Blackpool. So basically, got the kids, started taking them to games.
Where were you born then?
I was born in Stalybridge, little place off the side of Manchester.
East Manchester, isn't it?
But dragged over here when I was about 6 for a number of reasons, to be honest with you. We were on the run, I think, from the police. There was definitely something bad going on. I don't know the full story, and I never will, but we keep it like that.
Yeah, okay. So where did you used to sit or stand in the ground? Obviously, I think we've all been in various places, haven't we? I think we've all probably been in every stand, haven't we?
Yeah.
So what was your sort of favourite place to be at the old Bloomfield Road?
I think basically, I think we were just kind of down the west, really. It was from the memories I have of it. We seemed to be that way. I seem to be watching everyone else enjoy themselves, really, to be honest with you, with my stepdad. So it seemed to be, from what my memories are of it, early doors, we were in the west, and then going back, obviously, northwest corner was the safe place. And then over time, the boys wanted to kind of move down behind the goals as they do and catch everything that was coming, So yeah, mainly the north is where I prefer to be over any kind of place, really. I've done a couple in the southwest recently, but the north for me is where you should be. I think it's the best place.
That may all change now with the furore around the away fans being in the south end.
Yeah,
a lot of the muckers aren't happy about that, are they?
No, I think they're on about migrating across the south. Just as my lads bought his tickets for the north.
Do you know what I was thinking the other day? I've not bought mine yet, so I was thinking I might start in the north, when you get the sun on you. Yeah. And then as that starts to go progressively colder, I might...
It's freezing in the south.
That southwest corner, honestly. My nipples were like bullets. It was absolutely... It was horrendous the other day.
Have you drawn a picture of that, Rob?
Yeah, I'm keeping that one to myself, though. Yeah, a little bit of live modelling, like a French lady. That was what I was doing. Yeah, but I've got a pic.
Right, I'm going to put you on the spot a bit now. What's your most memorable Blackpool match?
God, do you know...
Lot to pick from, obviously.
Do you know, my most memorable, really, I think, was when my lads got it. And I think it was a crappy 2-2 draw with Oldham. But it, years back, and I think it was Andy Morell kind of leapt up like a salmon and equalised right at the end. But we'd got to a point of, I make a rule of never really going early. And it was one of the first times we decided to go down to the front with the boys. So I took the lads down the front, and and basically Morell leapt up, kind of thing, headed the ball in, and we got a late equaliser, which is a crap result really against Oldham. But it was that moment that I knew my boys had got it. They'd absolutely got it. We were right in the middle. I didn't know where they'd gone. It was terrible parenting on my behalf, to be honest with you, because they'd just shot off, and they were basically hugging Morel.
Was this home or away?
It was home. Yeah.
Right. How old were your lads?
Oh God, you're looking. I'm trying to think now. Probably
About 2006,
it might
2007.
have been. Yeah. So they were only young, but they were right in the middle of it. So
That's a good reason. That's quite original.
To be honest
actually,
with you, it's just when they got it. Really, that's the big thing for me. And all the hard work really, because it was some of the early games I took them to, we were getting absolutely hammered. So a lot of the time it was, you can get a Mars bar and not chocolate, like that kind of thing to try and keep them going.
Is it strange how you do get hooked on it in sort of very strange games? So we got panned like a lot, didn't we, when we all started going? But
it was
like a connection, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't about the good standard of football, was it?
No.
It never usually is, though, is it?
No.
It never usually is about the good football. Well, to be honest with you, it never can be, can it? Let's be honest with you.
But that's for later on to dissect. Okay, so Rob, you're obviously quite, well, I'll say famous in our little circles of
maybe in this room.
of the drawing. So what motivated you to do this, and when did you start, and when did you first kind of start doodling, or was it a conscious thing to come up with it, or was it just
to be honest
organic?
with you, I'd always been, even when I worked at the club, because I had a spell at the club within the lottery department, and even when I was there, kind of, I was just doing the admin kind of thing on the side, and they had the big pads in front of you. And I used to draw, as people doodle, I'd draw, and then basically the guy in charge, he was a guy called Colin, he basically said, get rid of that quick, because you realise what you're drawing kind of thing. So, it was scrunched up quick then, got in the bin kind of thing. So I've always been doing them. And then, I was on the old Nokia 3210s and got myself a decent phone and was shown Twitter, shared something, and then a few people jumped on it. So, and then the requests started coming in really, and I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. It's kind of took a mind of its own. Or
did you have a collection sort of locked and loaded and ready to go when you went on Twitter? Or?
No. I had no plans to do any more than the first one I did, and I think I kind of put one on of I think it might have been the Oystons kind of taking the blood from a unicorn, a bit of a parody on the Harry Potter film kind of thing, and then
was that your first one?
Yeah, and then the Tangerine Knights jumped on, and they said, "Can you do this for us? What about this?" The suggestion kind of thing, and I think it was something to do with the life of Brian. I think I did that, and then it just kind of rolled from there. People started connecting on Twitter and said, "Can you do this? What about this?" I just kind of reacted to other things that were going on, what people's suggestions were, and just kept rolling with it really. So I was producing them as quick as I can, and I mean, there's a lot that I can't show. I've private messaged a lot of people, but it involves ferrets and arses. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I might show you later.
That come on the X-rated show.
The late night pod. Wait till we get past 9 o'clock.
We passed the watershed yet. We've got a lawyer in house anyway, so you're not very good at litigation, though, are you, Tim?
No, not defamation litigation anyway.
Right, moving on. Tell us about your upcoming exhibition of artwork, where, when, and how. What people can expect to view and pick up while they're there.
53 pieces. Obviously tying in with the.
See what you did.
Got to do the 53 there, right? You got to use that number as much as you can. Remind Preston. But yeah, it's you come down and see it. There's things I've selected out. There's things I've reworked. I think I've been putting a few kind of album parody covers on. I don't know if anyone's seen those ones. There's been a bit of Nirvana parody, and there's a few more Michael Jackson parodies.
Yeah,
so I've been doing a little bit of parody work really, and just kind of I've bolstered it up along with some of the early stuff, and just kind of really just to box off more than anything. That's the big thing. We do need to move forward. We do. It's done now. It's everything. And I don't want to draw him anymore. It's the big thing. But I'm aware that a lot of people kind of want them for the man caves. That seems to be the popular thing. We get a lot of people kind of saying, "Can you do us this for the man cave?"
We've got a nice blank wall there in this particular man cave, haven't we?
There you go.
Hint.
Perfect for it. Yeah.
Along with free tickets. Hint.
Needs to get it in. Is that going to be in the camera shot though? Yeah, it is actually.
Yes,
moved me head a little bit. That's all right, isn't it? Yeah, you got a little. That's a nice canvas. So yeah, it's about that really, and then they'll be up for sale if people want to buy them. They can. It's. I'm just clearing it out. that's the big thing. You know, it's on to more positive things, hopefully.
Yeah. So are you going to be like describing each piece as you're there, or is it just going to be?
They'll be up on the wall. I'll be there myself, so people can come and talk to me if they want. You know, I'm quite approachable. I think I'm approachable. So yeah, people can come and talk to me. You know, ask me about the pieces and that, and I'll just be basically locked in the room for 3 hours. So you know, if anyone wants to come and have a look at it and ask me a few questions while we're there, then happy days.
Is it going to be in the upstairs?
Second floor of the Excelsior, which feels the right place for it, to be honest with you. You know, more than anything, I don't think I'm one of these that'll be in a place where they offer canopies or anything like that. You know, it's not. There won't be
this joke.
yeah. There's no prawn sandwiches around my work. So
won't be going.
Sausage roll canopies, mate.
Well, I've just seen him come up those 3 flights of stairs. He won't make it up there, to be honest. So yeah, it's it's the right place. It feels the right place for it. You know what I mean? So a nice quiet venue. What do you think?
Oh, right, yeah.
Obviously, it proudly displays one of your most famous pieces outside the banner outside the.
That's right. Yeah,
the Bookers. Superb.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's all right. That
it's
it's got a feel of. I think it was mentioned. It's got a feel of something that you see in the German leagues. Really, isn't it?
It's Dortmund that it reminds me of.
Right.
There's one where they bring it up from the bottom of the yellow wall and bring it all the way up, it's like. I think it's like a skeleton's head or something, and it immediately thought just like what you see. When they do those montages.
And I think that's what we need in the ground, really, more than anything. We need that. You know, I mean, I know obviously we've been doing the Billy Eyre pieces, but you know, a massive flag of Billy and you know, a massive flag of the legends, really, to be honest with you, and get them in there and just have a bit of pride in the club again. That's a big thing, you know.
I mean, I'm sure if we crowdfunded that all, we could quite easily raise the dough to finance that. Yeah, do you think that will look great?
I've got plenty of designs up my sleeve, to be honest with you. I know I've done a lot for the Muckers. They've been good to me, you know, really, in that sense. Helps out a lot. So a lot of the stuff I've done's for them, but I'm always open to. I've always said any particular group that wants anything done. I've done a few bits for BST for the protests, a few pieces there. So I'm more than happy to create. You know, if it helps.
The stadium does need stuff like that,
it's been muted. I've been asked about a couple of things. So
I think there's an opportunity to get some murals on. They've got a lot of blank walls when you walk around the concourses. There are a lot of blank walls, and it's something I think when I get the opportunity when the dust settles a bit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it might be have to wait for a new owner, but I'd like to see some of those blank walls filled with something inspirational, you know, and hopefully not Rangers graffiti, which apparently
I've heard about that.
Yeah, I saw that.
I've not actually seen it, but I believe there's some bits knocking around. Obviously, we're going to have to get rid of those, but
they're not great artistically. Let's put it that way.
It's more tags.
There's going to be a bit critique, to be honest with you. It's not fantastic. And put them on an hand dryer. It's not the best place, is it?
I think there's a great opportunity to do that. You know, on the almost like a feature wall at each corner of the ground with something quite inspirational. Maybe FA Cup win.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe 2010.
A 2-2 game. A
2-2 game against Oldham
in 2004.
There we go, leaping up like a salmon. There we go. You love that. I know. That's like being a miserable bastard. I think that's what it is, to be honest with you. But yeah.
Well, okay, get your Palm Pilot out then, Tim. Another addition to your to-do list.
Oh no, there's a long list.
Nick's looking a bit bemused there. Do you know what a Palm Pilot was? It's like a late 90s little sort of before PDA, I think they were called, weren't they? It's like a LCD.
We're showing our age
predated mobile phones anyway. Right, so Rob, have you been surprised about how massively popular the reaction was to your artwork?
Yeah,
it just blew up.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. At the moment, I'm really busy, to be honest with you. It's rushed off my feet.
So it's not your day job, this? It's just a hobby?
No. Unfortunately, I work in a really crap shop. So I actually run it. So my staff all kind of look at me, but I spend most of the day drawing. So yeah, I get a lot of work done, but most of it's done there. I shouldn't really confess to that, but I doubt that they'll see this, to be honest with you. So,
of course they will. Oh, Blackpool sees this.
Obviously, yeah. No, it's all right.
3 million followers.
They're based in Derbyshire. I think I'll get away with it. You're all right. Don't worry about that. So yeah, no, it's absolutely more than I imagined, to be honest with you. Like I say, there was no plans to turn it into anything, but it's quite close to being turned into something.
Oh yeah,
you know, and for myself, you know, I kind of give up on it really. You know, I had a little spell and I give up on drawing and the artwork a while ago. I wasn't really going to bother doing it anymore, and then Twitter came up and I popped a few things on and it's close to turning into
a full-time gig for you, hopefully. I mean, you're living the dream then, aren't you? If you're doing what you love
it's
getting paid.
Fingers crossed. I don't know how to go about that, but hopefully, it'll turn into something. And
I know someone who did something similar. Brilliant artist, just did it in spare time, and she now does it as a full-time job.
Fantastic.
Puts it out on Facebook, and you've got an online shop and everything, and it's
one of those. It's one of those things, yeah. And it's a bit of luck sometimes because I mean, there's thousands of people that can draw. You know, there's thousands of people in Blackpool that can draw. A really talented town, really. You know, some of the stuff you can see, but fortunately, no one decided. Might have been the threat of being sued, but no one decided to get involved with the Not a Penny More campaign. So, and I was expecting a few more people to jump on it. I was quite surprised, really. But yeah, no, they left it to me, and I hopefully took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the big
Who was it who asked you first of all to do the programme covers?
It was Stuart Hudson.
Stuart,
yeah, I got contacts off Stuart. I've got a feeling that might have something to do with you, though, Tim. To be honest with you, being on that board, he might have pointed someone in the direction of me.
I think
I like the way you said
I think it was more Stuart's idea. So,
Yeah.
but it was an inspirational thing to make that approach because I think that it really sort of summed up everything, didn't it? The Southend game, particularly when the programme all of a sudden is turned over to your talents. I thought it was
I just was not expecting that really. I think because everyone in the club, I think I might have drawn them either kind of bent over in some weird position or having something inserted in them. So it's to then
or helmets on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, anything like that. So then to suddenly. I think Stuart might be the only one I've not had a go at. I think, to be honest, no, I think I've had a go at him on Twitter. See, I think I might have. Yeah, I don't think I've drawn him, but I think I've had a go at him. But yeah, it's. I'm hoping that some of the pictures I've done maybe haven't been seen by some of the people on the board. That are still there now, not on the board, should I say? That are still at the club. I probably alerted him to him now, so that's me not doing another cover, isn't it? But yeah, it's all good. Yeah, it's mad at the moment, so I'm just happy to keep it kind of continued and a bit more positive. Really, that's a big thing.
Cool. So, Rob, we were just chatting before we went on air. I was just asking you about your process of how you actually physically create these pieces of art.
We were chatting, we were laughing, actually.
I was laughing and gobsmacked. Just want to tell people how you go about creating your art and just show it to the camera when you go to that piece.
Where's the camera?
So the camera's there.
Right. Okay.
So go. Nick, put the camera right up to the
just show
lens.
that cracked screen.
Just see if you can.
So this is
Can you see the cracks?
That is it's absolutely knackered. Yeah. So I'm frightened of updating it, to be honest with you, because I've got everything saved on it. So every piece that I do, including the front covers, is created on that phone. So everything. There isn't anything else that's not done on the phone. I do it as quick as that because I found that the quickest process. I'm absolutely awful with technology, to be honest with you. So I use a scanner that's got a broken lid, and it doesn't print. It doesn't do anything apart from scan, but I've managed to get a free app on the phone. Look at Tim, he looks absolutely confused by this. I've got a free app on the phone that basically connects to my printer. So I've got a knackered old printer, and I press scan on the app. It scans it, takes it to my phone. I've then got a free app, a free paint app. It's called Sketch, which I downloaded, which then lets me to add the colour. And that's why sometimes when I send stuff and they say I need a higher res, and I say, I've absolutely no idea to do that because I've absolutely no idea to do that. Everything I do is basically on that crappy old phone. So I've got I don't know if you want me to point that to the camera as well. There's a little, I can show you the Sketch app and you can have a little scan through it and see the nonsense if you want to put that towards the camera as well.
So you then just use like a pen?
No, I use my finger.
You do it with your finger?
Yeah, I have to scan in quite, yeah. No, there's no stylus or anything like that. Have you just scanned down?
I assumed you'd use a stylus.
No, up that way. And then you can see all the bits that are going on there. That's basically everything coloured and drawn, so it's just line work that's scanned. And then I don't think there's any pictures of me on there with my nipples out. So I think. So yeah, everything's on my phone. It's not. A lot of people are surprised when I say that, but yeah, it's done very, very cheaply and low budget, and yeah, they are. That's the way it goes.
Amazing, eh? Amazing.
Is, yeah.
So if anyone is.
So I can't get. How do you get the detail when you need it with the finger?
Do you not do it with a pen and pencil? I just presume you drew it with a pen and pencil.
Yeah, a lot of people think I do it that way. No,
Even then, you'd think you'd do it on the screen.
So your front covers. So if you have a look at the Billy Eyre front cover, I'm very kind of yeah. So obviously think of the Billy, that's biro. So all that work is in biro basically. All the covers that you see, there's biro work in the line. So I draw it with a crappy old biro. I've got a box of them that I bought for about £3, and then basically just scan it in and add the colour. I have to drag the picture out as wide as I can to get that colour in. But yeah, everything's done with my finger, with a biro and a finger, and that's how it works. Wow. Yeah. I know, even more impressed now, aren't you? I tell you.
That's amazing.
There you are.
That one's my favourite, I think.
Yeah, so great detail. Just for the benefit of the pod, we're just looking at Rob's Twitter feed. I'm looking at the Billy Eyre image. Look at that intense stare.
Oh.
a king amongst men.
I think I caught the man there, didn't I?
Yeah,
It was,
yeah,
it was
brilliant.
good. Everyone's
Really
so
good.
pleased with it. So next one's Suddick. So I'll show you that in a little while if you want, to be honest with you. Next one's Suddick.
Right, so just to wrap this up, so how does it feel when you see your creations outside the Excelsior? I mean, you must be a very proud man.
Very much so, yeah.
I took my young nephews to see it. I stood there, look at that. Pretty brilliant.
Yeah, it's something else, yeah, seeing it there. I mean, on that, obviously the game we went back on, I mean, that was a great atmosphere at the Excelsior. So to see it kind of, that place bouncing, and then...
It's a focal point of the pub, though, isn't it?
That as a backdrop, yeah, that as a backdrop is, it was fantastic. But the same, you know, I mean, I'm sat in the crowd, no one knows who I am, you know, kind of thing, and that's fine. But I'm sat in the... I'm sat in the...
What was that?
Banksy.
I know, yeah, I don't know where that tag came from, to be honest with you. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, it's just to see people around me having a look at the programme. That's a big thing for me.
But it is. Yeah.
You know, and then I hear him saying how good it is, kind of thing. I wanted to kind of tap him on the shoulder and say, that's me, that. But I don't, you know.
Sign
so,
it.
yeah. You know, signature there, pal.
Just prodding a few buttons there. Do you have any favourite compositions? And I'm going to put this out to the room as well. I'll start with Nick then. Have you got any particular favourites of Rob's work?
Well, I think the Muckers one, the flag, it's absolutely...
Muckers number one.
Yeah, I was there quite early for the Southend game, just as it had gone up, and my wife nearly crashed the car when she was dropping me off. She's like, what's that? I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
really
it's
good.
one of the only ones I've drawn without a penis on, to be honest. I think most of them have got some kind of phallus on, haven't they? I think it's it's a good one.
He's a real man, isn't he? He doesn't like cocks, things like that.
Averse to that? No.
Right, moving swiftly on. And Tim, is there anything that piques your interest?
To me, I think the Billy Eyre one stands out.
Yeah.
I also like so often when you look at those the pictures and the sketches. It's when you go back and look at them again, you see all the little detail that you perhaps missed the first time.
Like pubes or a tiny cock hanging out.
But it's just, they can be like somebody sat
straight testicle.
Somebody sat on top of the stand or something like that, or you might see a little Carl with his balaclava on sat somewhere.
I try and hide in as much as I can. I think I did an end of season one that we were looking at before, weren't we, John? And then there's so many things hidden in it, you know. And I try and do that all the time. The covers that I'm doing at the moment, I can't announce it until afterwards, but there's something hidden in there as well. But I'll let you all know at the end when they've been printed and no one can stop it. But yeah, we're on with that. So.
Did you used to read Visitor or this comic?
No, to be honest with you, no, I didn't.
A lot of your work reminds me of.
Yeah, no, it reminds me of it as well, to be honest. And people kind of pointed me in the direction of his, and I never really did. But they kind of said it's a lot like that. But I find myself kind of, I don't know, to be honest with you, I find myself kind of recreating styles that I wasn't aware even existed before. Someone's beat me to it. Basically, I look like a copy artist, you know. But it's, but yeah, no, it's. I've had a quick look at a few Viz things, and yeah,
what they used to do, they'd just drop in random little Jimmy Hills like all over Viz. It'd just appear at random times, you know, like the little guy with the big chin. It's hilarious. Just be reading the fat slags. There's a mini Jimmy Hill there.
What's he doing there?
In fact, next one, I want to see a little mini Jimmy Hill in somewhere.
Is that right? Is that a request?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll see what I can do. I don't think I'll get on the final front cover, will I? To be honest with you.
For the next one, then.
Jimmy bottom corner.
Right, anyway, so that's it, Rob. So just any more questions from the room? Nick, Tim, have you got anything that you can think of for Rob?
Put you on the spot now.
Oh, he has, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's absolutely. There's no need for that, is there?
I'll get some new guests and get some new presenters on. I'm trying to twiddle and talk at the same time. Right, so that was the interview with Rob. Let's move on to me pressing this. Move on to last match reviews. We used to do these little interludes, didn't we, with the crowd noise? It breaks the show up, doesn't it? It gives everyone a chance to refresh, have a little drink.
A little slurp.
Where's that sack the board one, actually, Tim? I'll use that for the next one.
Yeah.
Right,
Saturday.
yeah, after Saturday, so nicely segueing. We played Peterborough at home, pre-match. Where did you go, Nick? What was your pre-match routine? What did you get up to?
Usual, just went to the Excelsior for an hour or so. I was driving, though, so
All right.
nothing too stupid.
Rob, what did you get up to?
I went to
sorry.
Bloomfield as well, actually.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Bloomfield Brew House.
Yeah.
Any good?
In there. Yeah, it was a good pint. Yeah, very nice.
Rob?
I was on my best behaviour. I was with the wife and kids, so I was doing the respectable type of thing. No one won't see me causing any trouble at all. I was just walking in, being a happy guy.
Where did you two sit?
I was southwest corner.
Nick?
I was northwest corner.
Northwest corner. I was west, so I took my son, so I couldn't do anything either. So I just went to the west. 2 seats became available in the, I think it was Block L. So I was in there. It was a bit kind of dull, really, to be honest. So I don't want to go in there. Oh, another quick story actually. I was in the club shop getting tickets, and Andy Grice was in there. So I had a quick chat with him, and I was just looking through the memorabilia and stuff you can buy, and I heard this commotion in the back. Press bloody Control S for save. Press file save as. How would you save this spreadsheet? So Andy goes, "Oh, John, he's a bit of an IT whiz. John, can you come over here and help us with this data export?" So I was there on the Ticketmaster database going, right, so how you do this? File save as, control select save as. So yeah, I think he was being run a bit ragged actually.
Keep him busy when he's there.
Yeah. So it's quite good. It was good to see him anyway. Good to see him involved at the club, obviously, with everything that happened. So Tim, obviously your pre-matches are very different to what they have been in the past. So what did you do?
Normally I'd have probably just wandered on down at 1:30 and had a pint somewhere. I tend to get there a bit early these days, and I've only over the last couple of games I've sort of developed a bit of a routine of going up to hospitality first, mainly because they're first there, and there's always a few people up there to have a chat to and just show my face, and then head over to Rollies, which seems quite popular at the moment with fans in there. So show my face in there.
What goes on in there? Is that just somewhere where you can go for a drink, or just an informal place?
Yeah, you can have a bite to eat in there. So I tend to do sort of about 20 minutes, half an hour in each. Then I wander over to the Excelsior and have a pint with these guys, and then hit the concourse for 2:30. Make sure my bottle bars are fully stocked.
Jerry, bottles and cans.
And you do end up. I think I said in the last podcast, you do end up watching what's going on. Also, we had a bit of a problem with the first bottle bars in that they ran. Well, the South particularly ran out.
Did it happen this week?
No, it survived this week. But there's still bits you pick up on. I think there's the queues are still too long. So I've made representations there saying you need more than 3 people behind, because the South had 3 people behind each kiosk. Well, for me, if you've got 2 lines, you need more than 3 people there. But it's a balancing act because it's only for that 15 minutes, because pre-match it worked all right, to be fair. So it's one of those, I still think there's a quicker way of getting people served, and we've just got to keep working on that.
I noticed there's an introduction of wine as well. Ooh la la.
Yeah.
Whose idea?
Put your little finger up there.
Whose idea was that, I wonder?
It wasn't mine, actually. I might have put some Rioja in there if it was.
And some strong continental lager. I think you can have some of that in Rollies, though, can't you?
Yeah, it's quite nice. For what it's called now, it's a really decent pint, actually. I recommend that if anybody's up there.
Nick, next time I can go for a drink. You fancy going in there for a bit of a change of scenery?
Has corporate been busy then?
Obviously it was the busiest. It was the busiest against Southend. Yeah. Obviously, that's when it was full. I think we had about 100. I'm excluding the boxes because the boxes have been pretty full. I think there's about 150 there for the Donny game. I can't remember now about the last one. I think over 100 in the last 2, but it's sold out for Fleetwood. But I'd like to see us try and get some 2-tier pricing on that, because I think when you've got your premium games, you're going to sell out. But I think we maybe need to look at a different pricing scale.
Like your Tuesday nights and stuff.
Yeah, just to make sure that because everybody feeds off the buzz when it's up there.
Yeah.
And Andy Higgins and a few others are up there because his company was Matchball sponsor. Even the Muckers were up there. Raggy was up there.
I believe so.
I saw a picture,
and Neil. So
was he sat on the table? That's actually sat on the table.
Refusing to get down.
Unless this strong continental lager is delivered here. None of this carling.
So, and then, so it's just I always keep a bit of an eye and just give feedback, really, because it's important that we try and get things right. I nearly didn't get into the hospitality section because I turned up at the West as I normally do, and I'm in jeans and I've got my jacket on because I'm going in the South afterwards. And there's different people barring the doors saying, can I have your tickets? And I'm trying to explain who I am.
Do you not know who I am?
Well, but it didn't seem to work.
It's a Tom Folding. Sorry,
So,
sir. Sorry, sir.
To be fair, they've introduced this new meet and greet there, and so there's a lot of new staff. So me turning up with my down jacket and my Fred Perry and
Your Stone Island.
Like really
no Stone Island.
Really dressing down there, Tim.
It was it didn't quite sound very convincing when I said I was one of the directors. So they turned up somebody who did know me and said, is this
You
true?
don't know who he is.
Is this true?
So get yourself a purple suit, don't you, Tim? I think purple suit. There's a way
And a
forward.
fedora. So on.
Straight in.
Crooked sunglasses.
So anyway, so once I got in, it took me about 10 minutes. But every stage you went in the building, there was like somebody else. And to be fair, it was very professional, and everybody was commenting how nice it was. Because actually, when you go to some other clubs, you do see a lot of that. Not like do a lot of hospitality, but Ray Gregson, I went with him to Liverpool for one game, and it was very much that at each different level. It's also about security and making sure that the right people are where they should be and not wandering places they shouldn't be going. So that was one. I didn't know it was being introduced on Saturday, but it was. So I had about 4 different lots of explanations to do before I actually got to where I was.
You weren't CC'd into that email then, Tim. No, they left you
Yeah,
out.
they missed me out.
They left you
They
out.
missed me out.
Shocking.
I know my place.
Be the last to know.
I suppose we should move on to the game, shouldn't we?
Oh, do we have to?
And get that out of the way.
Good Lord.
It was poor.
Turgid.
Crap.
And the thing is, we can't. I was saying this before. We're going about the pitch, and we know it's terrible. But both, Peterborough had to cope with it as well, and thought they did it better than us. They were the better team, weren't they? Really. I think we only had. I don't think we did. Do we even have a shot?
I've got.
I think we had 1.
Yeah.
I've got. I just quickly
Can't
noted.
remember that,
I
mate.
quickly noted highlights down on the train on the way here. We've got Grangelay. Do you remember the Grangelay free header? It was like 6 minutes in.
Yeah, he put it
Good
wide.
work from Feeney, wasn't it? Nice ball in, and it looked easier to miss than to score.
Yeah, bringing it all back now.
But that was a. It's weird. It's like I read it and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
sure.
The shitness of the 90 minutes sort of like deleted it from my brain.
Yeah, you black out traumatic experiences, don't you? The mind won't let you remember them. That's what it is.
But yeah, I mean, that aside, let's talk about the Peterborough goal. Oh,
I missed it.
You're not very good at this. He's staying roll, isn't it?
I went for a pie with Jim, and I thought we'll beat the queues, and
It's
missed
bottles
it.
and cans now. Do you not know? There's no
I believe
queues.
was it a
Moving
bit of a
on.
slip from Hannigan?
Well, I mean, in the build-up,
handball in the build.
there was an incident with the referee, wasn't there? Was it a hand? Were we claiming for handball or
I
a foul?
think that was. To be
in
honest,
the build-up.
I was looking down at my phone when that bit happened.
Jesus, what's wrong with you all? I saw
Did
it.
anybody see
It did
it?
not look like a handball. I will say that. It didn't look like a
no, it
handball
was
to me,
it
to be
was
honest with you. It's,
borderline at best, wasn't it?
you're never going to give it. But unfortunately, we did the old schoolboy thing, didn't we? Where you stop, you play to the whistle, don't you? And we didn't do it, so they caught us out.
It's a good finish, to be fair.
Well, I mean, we did have an opportunity to clear it. I mean, Hennigan, what he was doing, he just swung a foot at it. It's like something off Common Edge. Like, just passed it straight to Lee Tomlin. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
He was at Peterborough at one time, and I think we were.
Yeah, he was.
I remember,
And then he went
you and
to- he
Matt
was at
saying
Cardiff.
that's the sort of player that we should have been
Forest.
signing, given our resources at the time
Yeah.
to replace GTF. Obviously, not very often. We got like Grandin, didn't we, or someone equally shit. But yeah, I mean, he played the ball through to what's the geezer's name? Tony, spelt Toney. Just like a standard finish almost, wasn't it?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you were through one-on-one on goal.
It looks a bit more impressive because I think it hit the crossbar, didn't it, and went in, so it looked a bit more impressive.
And put it in was it top left corner he put it in, didn't he? So to be honest, it looked better the finish looked better on TV than he did seeing it live, where I just thought he'd just slotted it home, but he did put it out of reach.
Was that the highlights, Tim? Yeah, I think probably that was.
It was
to
the only. It was
to
the only
condense the whole
bit.
game down to
No.
3 minutes would have been better for us all.
Wouldn't
Really,
have been like
honest
to
with you.
doing the edit on that if I was like the BFC media team.
The bizarre thing is, I don't know whether we're going to go on to speak about it, but when you compare it with the week before, it was like a chalk and cheese performance, and it can't all be the pitch. You can't think that it's all the pitch, but maybe it is.
Do you think away from home just suits our style of play more though? Because
We're only
you've
playing
got-
one up front, aren't we? With
and
two,
you've got the
two-
home team pressing, and you can hit them on the counter. Whereas at home, when the expectations on us, I don't know. We don't.
It's
seem to
also-
be
It's
able
like
to
we're
do
playing
it.
for a draw almost.
Yeah.
But it's also when we were at Luton, after we sort of had to hang on in there for the first 15, and we thought we went 1-0 down. I thought we were going to get walloped about 5 or 6-0 at that point. But after about 15 minutes, we came into the game, and for the rest of the game, we were, we gave as good as we got. I know they went down to 10 men eventually, but and we played some really, really good football. And then I look at that on Saturday and think,
It's like two different teams.
yeah, it's like a Jekyll and Hyde
Do
performance.
they have a bit of music before when they go on? Who's picking that music?
do they-
To
do
kind
they-
of get them.
that
Is it
thing-
Coldplay or something like that? They need a bit of Katy Perry on there, don't you? Have a little chat, bit of firework on. We'll be all right then, Tim. See if you can sort it out.
I'll put it on the next board meeting agenda.
Starter.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
all.
that's what it is,
Either
yeah.
or, don't matter. Anything.
But it was, the game aside, it was fucking freezing, wasn't it? It was like,
My feet were solid. Freezing cold. It
Oh, you
was
sit in the
just-
south, don't you?
Yeah, oh, it really, you've forgotten how cold it is in that stand. I just don't think it ever sees any sun at all.
I mean, did you see everyone basking in the sun in the north? So
Yeah.
I got Eddie and I was like, right, come on, let's go and sit in there in the second half. It
Yeah.
sort of made it just about bearable the game. But I brought a big bag of pistachio nuts. They're like quite hard to shell. It's like, I was like, thank God I've got these because like they kept Eddie occupied for like 90 minutes. Like, he's just like not watching anything. Can't blame him really. Just peeling pistachio nuts.
I think I'd rather have been doing that.
Yeah, they
Should have told me they're coming out.
Right, so let's close the door on that. Finally, the attendance was 7,477. Not bad, all things considered. Or what? Did the board feel a bit disappointed with that?
I think there's a lot of people who were away for Easter, and where in previous years none of us would ever have contemplated going away during the season. The reality is, at the moment, people for the last 4 years have been doing that. They've got into the habit of doing that, and a lot of people have booked those holidays even before
That's it. You're making
we
plans.
knew we were going back.
Exactly.
You make plans 6 months, 9 months in advance, don't you, for your holidays? And so there was a lot away. I've got to say, I think if we'd seen the standard of football we'd seen away from home at home, I think we'd have had another 500 or so on that gate, because they without a shadow of a doubt, the three best performances I've seen since I've started watching again have all been away from home, and there's never been more than 500 away. Well, Accrington, to be fair, there was more, wasn't there? And it was only the second half really then. But the two decent performances, Bradford and Luton, there's only 500 people seen it, and to be honest, of that 500 at Bradford, I would have said most of those were also at Luton. So it is literally 500 out of a 8,000 or 9,000 crowd. So less than 10%. Are seeing the decent performances. So.
I mean, are we setting up differently away from home tactically?
No, I think we're setting up the same. But I think Nick's point that perhaps the formation suits an away performance more, where you've got the home team coming on. I also seem to think when we're at home, teams really seem to try and close us down very quickly, and we don't seem to we don't seem to be able to cope with that and have the composure that we see away. Maybe teams set off us a bit more away when we're away. I don't know.
Do you think maybe the fact that they're playing in front of a decent crowd is like making them a bit nervous even?
I said that possibly, but I think, like Tim said, I think teams have worked out what to do against us, and we don't seem to have a plan B. And there's just not that creativity for me. It's kind of like, and I get the pitch doesn't help, but as the game went on, it's just a bit more like panic and hoof a long ball up to Angela up front, and it just wasn't working. You could see it wasn't working, and we weren't going to get anything out of it. Again, we were talking off air before, and you look at that team, and it's a bit of a clear out job, I think, in the summer, isn't it? And you're almost building. There's probably 3 or 4 you'd keep, but I think beyond that, it needs a clear out, and it needs a fresh start. And I don't know, you might even include the manager in that, possibly.
I think if you're being honest, to be honest with you, you need to. I think your 4 players that probably stand out now. We were saying earlier, weren't we? I think your 4 players that stand out now probably need to be your worst players. And they're your best players now. I think we maybe need to change to the point where those of our top 4 players currently probably might not even get on the bench. There's a lot of change, but we know what we've been through. We know what we're facing. So I know there's a lot of negativity creeping in now. There's a lot of kind of we're shouting at players, we're shouting at managers. It's I don't know what people expected really when they came back. A lot of people just need to.
I think
we just got to get to the end of the season.
Yeah, of course.
There's so much needs sorting out that it won't happen overnight. And then even if it does get sorted in the summer, you've still got to be patient, because
you're bedding a new team in
you're bedding
again,
a new
aren't
team
you?
in. It could take it could take a couple of seasons before we get to where we want to be.
It's a 5 year. I think it's a 5 year project, Blackpool, for whoever comes in. I think I'm not quite as critical as you are of the team because I've seen them away and I know I've seen what they can do away. And I think when you do see a performance like you saw against Luton, you think, right, well, if they're given the right tools and they're able to play in a decent pitch, you might see a different type of performance. I don't know, but it's a real. Honestly, it's so different. It defies belief.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to realise. I think what Rob was inferring, that the fact that we're just back at Bloomfield Road, I think we're all forgetting it too soon, aren't we? We're almost
reverting back to
we're reverting back to type, aren't we? Yeah,
we jump
as
back
if the
in.
last 4 years
we have.
happened.
And we can't jump back in, can we? I mean, there's still a lot of kind of separation between us as fans, isn't there? Really, there's a lot of work to be doing.
Yeah.
We're labelling ourselves as something else, aren't we? At the moment, there seems to be a lot of people, probably controversial. I'm going to get in trouble for this, aren't I? We're labelling ourselves as different groups. And what we need to realise is we're all Seasiders. We need to pack it in, really, to be honest with you. Sort ourselves out, get behind whatever team we've got, because we're in for the long haul, aren't we? It's never been easy being a Blackpool fan, has it? Let's be honest. It's never been easy. And it's probably the hardest part now, even though, the battle's nearly won, is it? You keep seeing stuff about kind of him coming up with a loan, but, it's the battle's won. So the hard slog's now, really, isn't it?
I've been saying, to be honest, I think this is something that all the fans groups have got to look at over the summer, because I've said to them all, a new owner. I mean, the interim board are trying to be as fair and as democratic as they can, if you want to call it that. But a new owner isn't going to want to deal with 4 different groups,
no, not at all.
All they're really going to want to deal with is one group, and we need to come together, and that's a job for the summer, I think, and get us all on the same page, because I think they've all got different skill sets and they've all got something that they bring to the party. BSA being the travel, and they like to get involved in events. BST do the national governance. I mean, I know they're at Bolton tonight. Bolton's meeting tonight, giving some guidance over there, and I've got some fantastic writers. And then the muckers bring in the ultra aspect of it, and that which is equally particularly important on match day. So I think, and they all can quite like doing a bit of charitable work and work with the community. So I think there's some great synergies there that they all need to work on and end up with one point of contact that comes to the board. Yeah. And we've been I've been tasked with sorting out the SLO role, the sports liaison officer. Okay. So that's something I'm working on at the moment, and we'll be discussing it on Thursday, because I think that's going to be a very important role, because going forward, a new owner might not want a fan on the board. So whilst I'm able to give some input at the moment, if that window might close down, and if it closes down, an SLO, a proper SLO, will be very important. So get it in place now and get the procedures in place now. A new owner's not going to unravel that. So
it's one less job for them to do as well, I suppose.
Yeah, and there's massive benefits from it as well. I mean, all the statistics and the studies show that a board that interacts with its fan base makes money out of it, because they generally have a more contented fan base. They also get loads of good ideas, loads of input that they otherwise wouldn't have had from a different angle. So it's a no-brainer to do it. And rather than this tick box exercise we've had over the last 5 or 6 years since we forced them to appoint one. It's quite a good job for me, that, just to try and sort of lay the ground rules as to what that might look like. We'll see who then wants to put themselves forward to do it, because it is a time-consuming task for somebody, and a thankless task a lot of the time. But it's the type of thing that when you're chairing a trust, or when you're leading a supporters group, what you do is, what's seen is like the tip of the iceberg above the ocean. All of it is done behind the scenes, and that's where you put your slog in, your hours in. So whoever does it's going to have a thick skin and plenty of time on hands.
I mean, coming up to the season ticket buying time, there has been a bit of what's the word? Not rumour, but just conversations going around that, I'm not buying my season ticket until I know what's going on with the buyers or the potential buyers, and there's rumours that Owen might be cobbling the money together and just all that sort of stuff. But would you say, Tim, it's very important just people go out and buy season tickets when it's announced, or what's the kind of...
Yeah, well, if we're going to do things over the summer, we're going to need money, and and the only source of income during the summer is, other than maybe if you had a player sale, is your season ticket revenue. So that's when it starts to come in, and it's good. It's a difficult one because these rumours are circulating. All I can say is that I've sat in Rollies with when I was trying to sort out the fan litigation last February, and he was saying the same thing then as he's seemingly saying now, that he's got a loan and he's coming back and all this. And I think he's got a big problem if he comes back. Or I'd like to think he's got a big problem in that. I think he's got to pass the owners and directors test again. At least I'd like to think that's what the EFL will make him do. And if the EFL make him do that, then he shouldn't pass. And he shouldn't be allowed to take over again. So I think that's a massive, massive stumbling block. Even if he gets to the point where, I think he'd have to borrow about £32 million. So, which is an extraordinary amount of money. It's a lot more money than he would have had to borrow previously, because he's got to literally clear every penny in order to get that receivership lifted. That's my understanding anyway. So I can understand the concerns, but I think there's a balancing act to be done where we've got to support our football club. And, we want to, everybody wants this pitch sorted. Everybody wants us to do this, that and the other. But the reality of the situation is until a new owner comes in, and once the new owner comes in, that will be it.
When's the deadline for?
15th of May is the deadlines for offers to be submitted.
So assuming Owen hasn't come up with anything by that date, then in theory, after that date, you could buy your season ticket.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not completely party to Paul Cooper's intentions there, because obviously, even when he's accepted a bid,
I suppose in theory,
then you've got to go through. You've then got to go through due diligence of some sort. Although obviously, a lot of that information, as I understand, it's available to the prospective purchasers now through this data room you can have access to, which has certain information in. And it's always a problem with due diligence, because a lot of it is, well, what's gone on in the last 4 years doesn't have a great deal of relevance to now. So there's almost like, I think, a bit of a new owner's going to have a bit of a punt on it, and the more you know Blackpool, and the more you know the dynamics of Blackpool, I think the better position you're potentially in. But I can honestly see it going on to July. Now the problem is, if we're going to do things over the summer,
into pre-season, then aren't you?
And if people are going to effectively go not a penny more on season tickets, then that's going to cause, it's going to cause problems. I envisage it's going to cause problems anyway, because I'm thinking, well, how are we going to sort the pitch out? How are we going to do this? I've been speaking to the people who built the stand today, because there's some work you've probably seen areas that netted off, and they're netted off for safety reasons, and we need to do some work over the summer there, and we don't know how much that's going to cost yet, but obviously there's going to be that. We're going to be looking at trying to start making decisions about squad, and it all has to be budgeted for. So my with my board hat on, I've got to say we need the money.
Get spending.
Yeah. And do we realistically think he's coming back? I don't. But I can understand the concerns. So it's one for the individual, I think. But I can only say what we need as a football club to do over the summer, and it would be very, very unfortunate if we're not able to do what we want to do because we haven't got the money to do it.
Yeah, I suppose you're starting on the back foot, aren't you? In terms of we've all seen seasons gone by where we couldn't even put enough players on the bench and stuff. First game of the season, and
the Riga Revolution.
Yeah, you're on the back foot from day one, aren't you? Which is not a position we want to be in. But I'm saying that I can understand the concern, because I suppose the last thing you'd want to do is, however unlikely it is, that he came back, and you're starting not a penny more again. You'll have to.
Yeah, obviously, the pens would be out. I've gone by some money.
I was going to say sharpen your pencils, but no, sharpen your finger. Uncrack the glass piece.
The thing is, by starving the interim board of money, it's not going to affect Owen's decision, because if Owen goes ahead and does it, he's going to do it anyway. And I think it's almost for me, it's almost like, are you going to take a punt and sort of give some support to the interim board of what the receiver's trying to do, or are you going to say never, 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 because I might end up theoretically giving some money to Owen. It's a conundrum, but I think now we've got where we've got to throw all our resources behind cracking on, and just hopefully it's a period in Blackpool Football Club's history where that book ain't going to be opened again.
I think maybe everyone's a bit too ultra cynical now, given what's gone on over the last 4 years. With everything that's been happening. So for me personally, I'm definitely going to buy one, even if I'm not going to go to all games. I'm quite happy to put my hand in the pocket and support things. So I think it's very important that everyone does it.
It's got to be done, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. And that's the way we can help out, isn't it? I think in that
and the biggest trick, I know there's there may be some controversies in relation to the season ticket prices when they're released. You have to go back to the forum to see where things are likely to be going. And there's been a lot of talk on the forums of doing a Bradford and making them £100 or £150. But the biggest impact on season ticket sales this season isn't going to be the price. For me, it's going to be who that new owner is. If that new owner comes in and Paul Cooper delivers the owner that we all want, and I think if he's given the opportunity and that's what would be his ideal solution, that would be. What he would want to do, because he as much as anybody, whilst he's got duties to the court, we all want a happy ending here, don't we? That if he's able to deliver the owner that we want, that will see the sales go where we want them to go.
You'll see a rocket then.
It
There's
won't,
a lot of people.
It won't be because they're £150, and it won't be because they're £250, and it won't be because they're £300. It will be based on who that new owner is and their vision for what Blackpool can be.
The job done, won't it?
Yeah.
So then people can relax. We know what's going on in the future, then, don't we? That's a big thing.
Right, that's that put to bed. Right, let's just move on to news, little bits of it, and then we'll knock things on the head. You're looking a bit bemused there, Nick. Pray tell.
No, I've just thought of something, that's why. Little thoughts popped into my head.
Go on then.
I was thinking
Spit it out, as I've said to the vicar.
Just going back to the pitch. So this segues nicely into news. I believe we've a new groundsman, have we?
Yes, we have. He's
Doesn't want to talk
not
about
called
it.
Stan, is he?
he's not called Stan. No. Yes, he's a young lad from who was originally at Masco, went away to Arsenal for a couple of years, and an opportunity's arisen. I don't think they want him to go, but from what I'm written, to be honest, most of what I know about it is reading on the boards, because it's come about fairly quickly, for reasons I better not go into. But
oh, go on.
No one's listening.
No. We can edit it. It's fine.
But what was interesting to me, I was up in hospitality briefly at the end of the game, just watching the Man of the Match award, which is a strange one.
It was the one.
But it was interesting. One of the, which was a comment made, I think, when
It
we
was the
played
bag
Arsenal.
of pistachios. They were the man of the match.
Yeah, somebody was on the pitch picking up all these empty shells.
Well, actually, Sam, I brought. I did this at the last game. So back end, I was on a freebie. I remember chucking them all over the ground on a free forces ticket. I went to a game, and I remember thinking, let's go back when I was seeing all these people picking up the rubbish. So I purposely brought a plastic bag, and I said, right, let's keep these in here, and I kept it tidy, so I didn't throw them on the
Excellent.
Yeah.
If any part of the clean-up crew found any pistachio nuts, if you can just let us know,
It
please.
was Eddie. It was Eddie.
There's someone shaking their fist at home now and then. Oh.
You'll have Tony Wilkinson on you. But in all seriousness, what we saw, which we haven't seen this season, is the groundsman working on the pitch post-match, which I think they commented on, didn't they, when we played Arsenal, that they couldn't believe that we didn't have anybody working on the pitch straight after the game. And the groundsmen were out there, which is good to see, and it'd be interesting to see how I think he's got a difficult task between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do, isn't there, now?
But it'd be interesting to see, and hopefully we can do something over the summer to make sure that those issues are resolved as best that we can.
Presumably it'll be relayed in the summer, will it?
There's two pitch consultants being approached. And I'll be honest, I don't think any of us know, other than the person who's commissioned them, what the findings are yet. We're discussing it on Thursday, but obviously we've got to skip to the final page and see how much it costs.
Start at the back.
So they pitched to you, did they, Tim?
Who the pitch?
God. Oh, Jesus.
That's a weak one. That was.
End of the show. Where's that tumbleweed?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. We've got to bring that old crowd favourite back. Right, so let's just move on to the other big piece of news that we've had since the last pod, which is the EFL have chosen not to give us a 12-point deduction after the receivers were appointed. Anyone surprised by this? I was pleasantly surprised.
I was a little bit because it was common sense being applied, which isn't something.
Yeah, it's rare, isn't it? But
yeah.
I believe Sean's got to live near it, hasn't he? I think so. I think he lives in the area, doesn't he? So I think that's his retirement gift, perhaps. To be honest with you, so we all leave him alone, maybe.
I think also there's a lot of work. There was a lot of work what went on behind the scenes to make sure that we gave the EFL what they needed. Their main concern was, which is obviously what you generally see with administrations, is that trade creditors are left out of pocket, players aren't paid, transfer fees aren't paid, and they're all like red lights to the EFL. And at the end of the day, the rules were brought in to stop people overspending, which we haven't done. So we had a big tick in the box about the circumstances, but we basically had to show to them on and this comes back to ticket pricing and season ticket money. We had to show cash flow projections that demonstrates that we can operate in the black, and part of those projections are obviously our estimated season ticket revenue, and the little sting of the tail, if there is one, is that they reserve the right to revisit it if we don't operate in the black. And I'm hoping that the new owner's in place for July, but if there was a delay for any reason and we have to stay in situ, we eat what we kill, and so we will operate in the black with the money that comes in from.
So effectively, if we don't sell enough season tickets,
but
another reason why you need to go out and buy them.
yeah,
listeners.
exactly. Yeah,
it's not. It's they do. They've basically they're satisfied at the moment, but they have. I don't know if people saw that, but they did say.
No, I didn't actually.
we reserve the right to review it if we've got it. If we've got it wrong, or if our projections are wrong, I think it's fair to say that the projections that went in were relatively conservative, because the last thing we want to do is over-egg the pudding on it, and then we look like we don't know what we're doing when we have to go back and say, actually, our figures are nowhere near what we've projected. So they've got to be sensible, and I think we have been sensible. And I think Ben and Michael particularly have done a great job on that.
Just nicely moving on there to Michael. Do you mean Michael Bolingbroke? Is that what you mean, Tim?
Yes, yeah.
Appointed as a executive chairman, I believe. Got a good CV in football, hasn't he?
Fantastic. I mean, obviously he was consultant to the board up until last week when he was elevated to the chairmanship.
So he's like the chairman now, is he? Like
yes.
The chairman of Blackpool FC. Okay.
Yeah. The executive bit just basically means he's a salaried as against non-executive, which is myself.
Yeah. What a bummer.
Typical. I know.
I'll get paid, Tim. I'll get paid.
Imagine, Tim, I've seen your new car outside, so you're not short of a few quid, are you?
It's not a company car, though. No, but it's fantastic news for us. It gives the board a lot of credibility. It brings a huge amount of experience. From what I've seen, his attention to detail. He's worked at clubs where everything has to be right, and if some of that.
He must be coming in here thinking, what the fucking hell?
But
Who's this?
If he stuck around?
If 10 or 20% of what was done at United under his stewardship and what was done at Inter Milan rubs off onto us, then that's fantastic. I know when the first day he arrived and he asked me to give him a guided tour of the stadium, and he was picking up on things there already. And,
what like?
Pitch was the first thing.
What the fuck?
But it
wasn't on Saturday that Tim. He did recognise you, didn't he? You were in your tweet jacket. Who's this?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
That's on his list. Gets him a suit.
Yeah.
Maybe you should get a badge saying, "Hi, my name's Tim."
I know, a big one.
He's got a bit of boss on there. That'll do.
Yeah, I'm the boss. Anyway, I digress. Sorry, Tim. What were we saying?
The first thing was the pitch. We'd met in Rollers, and after giving him a resume of what the situation was that Blackpool walked down, and he was straight into that, wanting to know. To be honest, I can't remember what he said, but it was technical detail about the way the pitch was laid and the different grades of. Because you have a sand layer and a gravel layer.
Did you know?
Sand, don't we? I think.
Did you know what? No, there's concrete in one corner. I should say, well, there's a. So we've got concrete there.
Don't slide there, lads. Don't slide there.
We've got concrete. It's a new one on him.
Is that the selling point?
So, or in his, he's taking notes all the time, and and he's looking to then deal with those issues with Ben particularly on an ongoing basis. So,
did you give him a tour of the penthouse suite?
No, none of us have been in there yet.
Jesus.
What's that?
It's still locked.
Is that just locked? Has no one been in?
There may be somebody up there, but it's not.
The blinds keep moving. That's what it is.
The blinds are open on Saturday apparently. So no, it's one of those where I've got it down as the Black Museum when the day we get possession.
Good opportunity for some odd artwork to go in there.
Bit of installation art. We'll go with that.
Oh, right. Let's just wrap up then. We've got Saturday. Fleetwood at home next game. Is it?
Scunthorpe Friday.
Oh, have we?
Yeah.
Away.
I didn't realise that. Anyone going? Tim obviously is.
Yeah, I'll probably go into that one.
Don't think so.
Not
but
brave
then we
enough.
know.
No.
Scunthorpe away though. It's got some very good memories from there for those who were there.
Yeah.
The start of the perfect.
It wasn't it?
Was it not the perfect 10? It was the start of the run up to the Premier League, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With Seamus Coleman pulling us out of the
And
mire, wasn't he?
And Boatza was playing, wasn't he? And I think DJ
DJ
Campbell
DJ
played, didn't he? And
That was a special game, wasn't it?
yeah. And then, was it the game when they first sang "This Is the Best Trip" as well? I think it might have been. I think that was when that song
Was
was
it?
born.
Was born.
born.
There we go.
So right, so we've got obviously Scunthorpe away. Doesn't really matter anymore, does it?
That's the spirit.
So yeah, we've got Scunthorpe away. Monday we've got the COD, the tram stop derby, I believe it's been bandied as, but just a bit of local pride going on there. But again, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things anymore. But it'll be a good day out though.
Well, it'll
good
be
trip.
interesting
Let's
to
hopefully
see
we
when,
can pack one. Go on.
McPhillips shakes Joey Barton's hand.
Squeezes it for half an hour.
If he's still there.
So how's everyone think this game's going to go? Probably be 0-0, won't it? Based on the previous dour encounters.
They've never been particularly. I mean, I think the last game was it 3-2 at Fleetwood, wasn't it? And that's the first time there's been any goals of any note in these games. They've all been very, very drab and very dour. And my concern is on that pitch. That's where it's going to be heading. But hopefully they'll surprise us, and we're going to get a real barnstormer. We need something like that. We need a game where everybody's going to. I think we've been saved by the two last-minute injury time goals, haven't we? Because that's given everybody's left on a high. When otherwise it would have been rather disappointing to have lost both games. It would be nice before the end of the season. I'm sure Terry, more than anybody, wants to replicate what we've done away from home in the home game, and for the benefit of everybody there. And there's no better time to do it when hopefully we're going to have a 5-figure crowd. I think.
How are ticket sales going for that?
I think they were going reasonably well. I mean, hospitality, I know is sold out. I think Sarah had said that we'd sold as many for Fleetwood. This is last week as we'd done for Peterborough, so that would suggest the sales are going quite well. And obviously, unlike the last couple of games, Plymouth aside, where the away team haven't brought many. I mean, Fleetwood are, I think, expected to bring 1,500. I think they've sold 1,000 already. So they've got they've got another home game on Friday when hopefully we'll sell a few more. So I think they'll probably bring 1,500. So it should be.
Yeah, it'd be good to see a 5-figure crowd.
Yeah, I'd like to think there's a 11-ish. With a bit of luck, maybe even 12. I think probably the performances over the last couple of games might well just knock a few off as against what it might otherwise have been. But listen, it's we're all there. I think if we'd gone back 6 months and thought we'd be watching these games, we most of us had said no. So we've got to make the most of it.
Enjoy the day.
And it's a joy day. Nothing actually is going to massively turn on the result, other than nobody wants Fleetwood to take 6 points off us in a season, do they? As a Blackpool fan, you don't want to see that happening.
No, you don't want to take any.
And I'm going to live in a house with somebody who works at Fleetwood. So
yeah, definitely not. On that note, get the outro music going. Right, until after the Fleetwood games. That's what day is it on?
It's on a Monday.
on
Next
a Monday.
Monday.
No, we can't
Next
come.
Monday.
Can't do a Monday then, can we?
Let's do a midweeker.
Yeah, we'll do a midweeker.
Let's see if it's a nil-nil draw. Or
If it's an L, no, we won't bother doing one.
I might want to cancel it.
It's like Nick when we never look at the league tables and we get beat.
Yeah.
Right, so Rob, thanks a lot for coming. It was a really good insight into your crazy methods and your warped mind. So thanks again, Nick.
Pleasure as always, John.
Thanks, Mr. Tim.
Thank you.
And all that remains to be said is thanks for downloading, thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. And
Up
goes up the pool, Rob.
On the pole!
There you go.